Good morning, America. Tariff U-turn. President Trump taking smartphones and other electronics off the tariff list. The size of relief for consumers and businesses, but could things change again?
Nuclear talks. U.S. and Iranian diplomats with a brief face-to-face meeting, the high-stakes negotiations as the U.S. presses Tehran to dismantle its nuclear program amid President Trump's threats of military action.
No black boxes. The NTSB saying the sightseeing helicopter that crashed off New York City was not equipped with any flight recorders. The latest on the investigation as we hear from a relative of the family of 5 who lost their lives.
Real ID countdown. The new ID requirements going into effect next month. The upgrade you need or risk being turned away at the airport. Plus, the help to deal with long lines at the DMV.
Easter spending. With egg prices soaring, how much more you'll be paying for your holiday feast compared to last year, and the advice on how you can save.
And Grand Slam dreams. Rory McIlroy moving closer to the big career achievement with a record-setting round at the Masters. Plus, WNBA Draft preview. ESPN analysts Andraya and Chiney Ogwumike join us in studio to look at the top players who could get the call to the W.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Andraya, Chiney Ogwumike, Sports Chiney, Will Reeve. We have got you covered with all the sports this morning.
Hey guys.
Good morning. Great to have you here, Will. This morning, a big couple of days ahead in sports, huh? The Masters in its final round today, the NBA wrapping up its final season, and then the WNBA Draft tomorrow. So Andraya and Chiney will be right here in studio with us with a look ahead.
Really looking forward to that, but also new this morning, an encouraging sign. Pope Francis making an appearance in St. Peter's Square following the conclusion of Palm Sunday services. It's been 3 weeks since the Pope got out of the hospital.
Yes, it is such a welcome sight to see him. But we do begin with the latest reversal in the Trump administration's trade war, now deciding smartphones, computers, and some other electronics will not face what the president calls reciprocal tariffs. ABC's Selena Wang is in Washington with that welcome news for many consumers and businesses. Good morning, Selena.
Hey, good morning, Janae. Yeah, this is very welcome news, a huge sigh of relief, at least for now, for major tech companies and for consumers. President Trump is again making a major U-turn on his tariff strategy by exempting smartphones and other electronics from his latest round of tariffs. So many consumers had been rushing out to buy new iPhones before the Trump administration made this quiet reversal.
This morning, President Trump's tariff U-turn, his administration exempting smartphones, computers, semiconductors, and other electronics from his latest round of tariffs. A massive reprieve for tech companies and consumers amid fears that Trump's 145% tariffs on all Chinese goods would send prices of key products skyrocketing. The majority of Apple iPhones are assembled in China. UBS had estimated those steep tariffs could increase the cost of the iPhone 16 Pro Max by $950. Those iPhones now spared. But just days ago, Trump's trade representative adamant this wouldn't happen.
The president has been clear with me and with others that he does not intend to have exclusions and exemptions, especially given the nature of the action. If you have Swiss cheese in the action, it can undermine the overall point, which is to get rid of the deficit, achieve reciprocity.
But the relief may be short-lived. Trump has said he could still impose other targeted tariffs on some of these exempted products. And Trump's previous tariffs, including his 20% import taxes on Chinese goods as punishment for the U.S. fentanyl crisis, still apply. The White House saying that America cannot rely on China to manufacture critical technologies such as semiconductors, chips, smartphones, and laptops. But that won't be easy.
China is very intertwined with our economy, and it's very hard to find easy substitutes to many of these imports.
And the U.S.-China trade war showing no end in sight with staggeringly high tariffs on both countries. American businesses are feeling the heat.
This definitely affects my bottom line. Right now, we're going to make very little money.
President Trump is giving countries other than China 90 days to negotiate a trade deal with the U.S. And this week, the president is meeting with the leaders of El Salvador and Italy. But the U.S.-China trade war is only escalating. The U.S. has imposed 145% tariffs on many goods from China, and China has imposed 125% tariffs on goods from the U.S. Guys.
Okay, Selena, a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and bring in ABC's chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl, who will be hosting This Week later this morning. John, thank you so much for being here. So are these new tariff exceptions a signal that President Trump is blinking on tariffs?
I mean, it sure looks that way, at least blinking for now. Gio, this is a huge series of exemptions. I mean, the overwhelming the largest component of trade with China are exactly these kinds of electronics, the smartphones, the flat screens, the component parts used to make microchips. They're now exempted from the latest round of reciprocal tariffs, and also not just those coming from China, but coming from the rest of the world. So this is a big step back, but we don't know. Is it temporary? Will there be further exemptions? Is this just something that is to give a little bit of time? I'm going to be asking the Commerce Secretary because, frankly, the administration has not provided the answers yet.
And, John, what I think so many Americans are asking right now is, where does this go now? Could we see new trade deals in the next few weeks here?
Well, the administration says yes. They say there are already a number of them that are all but done. They just need to be ratified. But let me remind you, Gio, that the one big trade deal that President Trump did in his first term, the trade deal with Mexico and Canada, it took almost 3 years to go from the start of negotiations to having that trade deal ratified by Congress.
Almost 3 years. All right. John Karl, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate it. And tune into This Week later. John speaks with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Senator Elizabeth Warren on the fallout from President Trump's tariff policies. Plus, ESPN's Stephen A. Smith on what's driving his change of mind on possibly running for office. Janae?
That's sure to be a fascinating conversation. Thank you, Gio. Turning overseas now to the nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. Negotiators from both sides meeting briefly on Saturday. ABC's Marcus Moore joins us with the details on what the White House is calling positive and constructive talks. Good morning, Marcus.
Janae, good morning. Both the U.S. and Iran have signaled that Saturday's talks were positive. The meeting took place in Oman and lasted about 2 hours. And it's significant because it marks the first direct contact between these two nations since President Trump returned to office. U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff led the discussions, which were primarily focused on Iran's nuclear program. The UN says Iran has been accelerating its uranium enrichment, and U.S. officials believe Iran is working to develop a nuclear weapon. And President Trump has said Iran can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. And he has repeatedly threatened military action if a deal to curb Iran's nuclear program isn't reached. And it's important to note that in 2018, he withdrew the U.S. from the existing Iran nuclear deal. This one was brokered by the Obama administration, and Trump once called it the worst deal ever. And much of the discussion yesterday was done indirectly with each delegation in their own room and communications done through Omani mediators. But we understand that at the end, officials did meet briefly face to face. And so much is at stake surrounding these talks, not least the stability of the entire region. And will the delegations plan to meet again next Saturday?
All right. High stakes indeed. Marcus Moore, thank you for that. Now to an update on the Maryland man mistakenly deported to a notorious mega prison in El Salvador. The Trump administration filing their first status report to a federal judge, an official with the State Department declaring in a sworn statement that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in that prison and that he is alive and secure. A federal judge ordering the White House to return Garcia back to the U.S. Jim?
Okay, well, now to a family member speaking out about that deadly helicopter crash in New York's Hudson River. The disaster taking the lives of the pilot and a family of 5 from Spain. ABC's Ike Kajachi has more on this. Good morning, Ike. Such a sad story.
It really is. Good morning, Gio. Divers are working tirelessly to try to retrieve those crucial pieces of the downed helicopter, currently dozens of feet below the riverbed. Meanwhile, an emotional message from the brother of one of the lives lost on that helicopter.
This morning, an emotional message from one of the relatives of the family of 5 who lost their lives in the helicopter crash on the Hudson.
They left together. They left without suffering, and they left with a smile on their faces. And that's important for us
Joan Camprubi speaking dearly about his sister Mercy and her husband Augustine, both executives at the global tech company Siemens, and their 3 kids, ages 4, 8, and 10. The children's school back in Spain offering a moment of silence. Camprubi seen here laying flowers on the Hudson River, a symbolic gesture for the lives lost, including pilot Sean Johnson, a Navy veteran.
He fought to defend this country, and we want to acknowledge him and his wife, Catherine, for her loss.
As tributes pour in, the urgent investigation underway. The NTSB now saying the helicopter was not equipped with any flight recorders that could provide useful information, as federal investigators conduct wreckage exams on the engine, focusing on the rotors. Highly trained divers scouring the cold, murky riverbed of the Hudson River, looking for the remaining parts of the helicopter, especially the aircraft's tail rotor and main rotor, seen here flying off midair.
If they're able to get the rotor blades back ashore, one of the things that they're going to be looking at very carefully is any potential for cracks, any deformation, anything that would indicate not only what happened, but how it happened.
Now, recent helicopter accidents and the noise they cause have repeatedly led to some community activists and officials to propose restricting or even banning traffic at Manhattan heliports today.
It is just a heartbreaking story. Mike, thank you for that. Unfortunately, we go from one devastating story to another. This one, the death of a teen with autism in Idaho, a week after he was shot by police. The teen's family making the difficult decision to take him off life support Saturday. ABC's Zareen Shah joins us with what the family would now like to see happen next. Zareen, good morning.
Good morning, Janae. The family told us they are looking for justice. For them, they say that means seeing the officers involved either fired or in jail. All of this coming as the Perez family said goodbye to Victor. This morning, an investigation into how multiple Idaho police officers shot a teenager with autism still underway after his family said their final goodbyes to Victor Perez. Supporters asking for justice at vigils over the weekend.
It could have been any one of our kids, and no kid should have had to go through what they went through.
The family of the 17-year-old says Perez had been taken off life support after doctors determined he'd been left brain dead after that shooting. The controversial incident happened during a barbecue last week, a witness calling police and reporting what they described as an escalating incident. Watch as police arrive. They command the teenager to drop the knife. Moments later, as Perez walks towards them, police start shooting from the other side of the fence, sending him to the hospital.
In situations like this, officers must make decisions in seconds. They assess threats, not just to themselves, but to those nearby. In this case, 2 individuals were within a few feet of an armed, non-compliant individual. The risk was immediate and the situation rapidly evolving.
The family saying they want this image shown after doctors amputated Perez's leg while trying to save him.
I just want answers. Why with my nephew they used shoot to kill, because that's what they did.
Protests erupting in Pocatello after the video of this incident went viral. The father and son that called 911 apologizing to the Perez family.
I had no idea this would happen. I'm so sorry.
And the mayor says an investigation into the incident is underway. As for police body camera footage, officials have not yet provided a timeline as to when or if it will be released. Will?
All just so gut-wrenching. Zareen, thank you for that. Now to a Wisconsin teenager accused of killing his parents to fund an alleged plot to kill President Trump. ABC's Christiane Cordero joins with the latest. Good morning to you.
Hey, Will, good morning. So many questions with this one. According to the warrant, a grandparent and a school resource officer called for a welfare check. It had been about 2 weeks since anyone saw the teen or his parents.
This morning, newly unsealed court documents allege this Wisconsin teenager, Nikita Kasap, killed his parents as part of a larger plot to assassinate the president and attempt to overthrow the U.S. government. Kasap's mother, Tatiana, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, were found shot and killed in their Waukesha home during a welfare check in late February.
The body was appeared to have been deceased for some time, was unable to definitively identify who it was.
Investigators say the 17-year-old Kasap killed them to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out his plan. Officials add they found material on the suspect's phone related to a neo-Nazi group described by the FBI as a satanic cult. They also say they discovered a 3-page document allegedly written by Kasap calling for the start of a revolution to, quote, save the white race. The documents allege Kasap paid, at least in part, for a drone and explosives, and that other parties knew of Kasap's plan, adding some even offered advice and assistance. Kasap was arrested in Kansas after police say he drove through a stop sign in his parents' car.
Kasap is in custody on a $1 million bond. He has not yet entered a plea, Gio, and is scheduled to be arraigned in May. Gio.
Okay, all right, Christiane, thank you so much. And we're going to turn now to a mystery that's happening in South Jersey. Okay, something falling from the sky ripped through the roof of an auto body shop. The owner found it when he arrived for work on Wednesday. His security cameras captured a fireball as something crashed through that ceiling. We don't know what, leaving piles of debris. Other cameras caught the same thing. Astronomers actually say it's possible that whatever it was came from outer space. Right?
All right. Well, we are 1 week away from Easter with the cost of eggs and other holiday favorites still quite high. ABC's Rena Roy is crunching the numbers for us and looking at ways to help you save some cash. Rena, good morning. We're glad you're here. We know that eggs are expensive right now, but what kind of prices are we looking at?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, as we know, Easter is all about the eggs, right? From dyeing them to eating them at brunch. Unfortunately, we will likely be paying more to get them this time around. The Labor Department says in March, prices were up 60% from last year. The average price for a dozen grade A eggs is at $5.90. This time last year, it was $2.99. That is a 97% jump.
Whoa, that's pretty big. And what should we
crazy.
expect for overall spending around the holiday?
Yeah, well, even though we are dealing with these higher prices, people are still looking to celebrate right. The National Retail Federation says consumers are budgeting $12 more per person compared to last year, mostly for at-home celebrations. At the top of many people's lists, food like Easter eggs, of course, and obviously the best part, chocolate and candy.
Yeah, that's on my food list for sure. Rena, is there anything we can do to save some money?
I'm sorry to say, obviously, as we know, there is no magic trick, right? But as always, the best thing you can do is shop around. There are apps like Flash Food that help you compare prices. You can also buy in bulk. Some stores are also offering special deals on Easter baskets and meals. Walmart, for example, has an Easter meal for 8 that it says is less than $6 per person.
Okay.
Not bad when you're looking to save a few bucks, right?
Yeah, that is a good idea. And for those Easter egg hunts, just get the plastic ones.
Yeah, that's a good hack.
Use them every year.
Exactly.
And you can actually keep them, right?
Right, yeah.
All right, Rena, thank you so much.
Hopefully, it looks like it's going to be good weather in Augusta, Georgia, because that's where they play the Masters. They call Saturday of the Masters moving day, and that's exactly what Rory McIlroy did yesterday, as in moved all the way into first place. Rory starting out hot, making a 3 on the first 6 holes. That had never been done in Masters history. He also had that eagle on the 15th hole. That was the site of his disastrous double bogey in the first round. Rory finishing with a 6-under, 66 for the second day in a row. He's got a 2-shot lead over Bryson DeChambeau heading into today's final round. If Rory hangs on, he will be just the 6th player ever to win each major. That's the career Grand Slam. What an achievement. Live TV coverage is on ESPN from 2 to 4 Eastern and noon to 4 Eastern. Live streaming coverage on ESPN Plus and Disney Plus. If you need me, I will be in front of my television.
Yeah, you will.
So will Gio, because he's a big golf fan.
Big golf guy.
Well, I was going to say, Will talks about sports the way I talk about space. He gets so excited about it. I love it.
Space and Broadway.
Fired up.
All right. Turning the page in the WNBA, Paige Beckers and other potential top draft picks. ESPN's Andraya Carter and Chiney Ogwumike join us to break down the preview of the WNBA Draft.
And ID check. Big changes coming to domestic flyers in the U.S. What you need to know about this real ID.
Plus, the countdown is underway for Blue Origin's historic rocket launch with an all-female crew. Gio's fired up. We all are.
Let's go.
We'll be right back.
And welcome back to GMA on this Sunday morning. It looks like the Coachella chaos has calmed down. That's Green Day there, taking the stage as the headliner last night. The set marked the Punk Trio's debut performance at the California Festival. Day 3 of Coachella will see performances by Post Malone, Meg Thee Stallion, so much more.
All right. Man, it's going to be a
it's
good
looking
time.
good.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some of the other big stories that we're following on this Saturday morning. Happening right now, Christians around the world commemorating Palm Sunday, which begins Holy Week. Pope Francis making an unexpected appearance in St. Peter's Square this morning in a wheelchair as he continues to recover from double pneumonia. The pontiff greeting the crowd who gathered for the mass led by Cardinal Sandri this year.
Also right now, Russians striking multiple buildings in the northeastern Ukrainian city of Sumy this morning, killing at least 31 people, injuring dozens more. Ukrainian President Zelensky issuing a statement saying a tough reaction from the world is needed.
And Blue Origin's New Shepard launch vehicle is getting ready to take its first all-female crew to the edge of space. Katy Perry and Jeff Bezos' fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, are among the 6 passengers who will have a front row seat looking down at Earth from more than 60 miles up in the sky. This is the same flight that our Michael Strahan took back in 2021.
And 30 NBA teams will be taken to the courts today. The teams playing on the last day of this year's NBA regular season to keep their dreams of a postseason alive. While the East seeding is set, only half the field is locked in for the Western Conference, and I may be the least qualified person to be talking about sports. As you'll see in just a second.
Not the least, I guarantee.
You just did a great job. You're doing great in your master's green today. But we have been so excited all morning to begin this half hour with the excitement building for Monday night's WNBA Draft. The 2024 regular season broke viewership records, and we're thrilled to announce, joining us with a look at the names in contention for the draft this week, ESPN basketball analysts Andraya Carter and Chiney Ogwumike. Welcome.
We're
thrilled to have you. You guys are just the best, and we have so much to get into, so we're going to dive right in. We'll start with you, Chiney, because you know all too well what it's like to go through the WNBA Draft. You were the #1 pick back in 2014, selected by the Connecticut Sun.
You can dust your shoulders.
Yeah, right? That is a big-time flex. I want to make sure I got it all in there. But what's going through the minds of these players right now as they're about to achieve this next step in their dream?
First of all, we make a great starting 5. I love it. And also, you guys are putting up the throwbacks. I wish I could redo my outfit from 10 years ago because these women are fashionable. What's going through their minds? This is the moment that they've dreamt of since they were little kids. It's literally the moment of their dreams. And what I thought about when I heard my name being called, honestly, I blacked out. I froze because, this is something you work for your entire life. It's a beautiful moment. It took my big sister slapping me on the back to wake me up to go across the stage when the commissioner called my name. But I think these women understand meeting the moment. They're the best of the best when it comes to hoops world. And now to be able to step to this stage and understand that their dreams are realized, it was probably the most beautiful moment of my life.
Wow. Yeah. Speaking of meeting the moment, Andraya, Paige Beckers is absolutely meeting the moment. She's the talk of the town. How likely is she to be selected #1?
I never like to say something is 100% certain, right? Because you never know. But Paige Beckers being the #1 pick is about 99.99999% certain. I mean, what Paige has done, not just this year, not just in this tournament, obviously winning a national championship, but the consistency that Paige Beckers has played with throughout her career. Her efficiency, the way she elevates her teammates, her leadership, her poise. She has shown that since her freshman year. Gone through injuries, so she's shown resilience and toughness. She is for certain. I can almost guarantee she will be the #1 overall pick.
Ooh, okay, so we have Paige, but there's so many other amazing players. So I'm going to ask both of you, who do you have your eyes on?
All right, so on ESPN, Dre and I have something called Biggie Smalls. We make a little sound. I take the bigs because I'm a post player, and she takes the smalls. The player with probably the most upside in the draft that people are excited about, Dominique Malonga. She's 6'6", 19 years old, from France. Y'all, a video of her when she was 16 dunking shook the world by storm. Silver medalist, you gotta love what she brings as a post player. Kiki Iriafen, we all saw what she was able to do at USC. She started off at Stanford. You guys know I'm wearing Stanford red for a reason. She was a design engineering major, but an All-American type of numbers. 18 and 8 is what she brought. And then, of course, Anissa Morrow, LSU, fearless. What she lacks in height, she brings with heart, a walking double-double.
Yeah, so Chiney always takes the bigs, and I'm always super biased, and I take the point guards. And there are actually a lot of point guards in this draft. So Haley Van Lith being one of them. Started her career at Louisville, then went to LSU, and then finished at TCU. She's got quick ball handling skills. I'm interested to see where she goes because some mock drafts have her in the first round, some have her in the second round. So I'm interested in her. Georgia Amoore from Kentucky, very crafty, can get her shot off at any angle. She is a true point guard. Step backs, think of the best moves you've seen. Georgia Amoore has them in her bag. Now, not the tallest, but it doesn't matter because she can get her shot off and create for her teammates. And she's also extremely explosive, got a lot of bounce. And then Cheyenne Sellers out of Maryland, she's a 6'2" point guard. So a point guard with that kind of size, when you're thinking about going into the WNBA, she can score, she can handle the basketball, but her size makes her an extremely intriguing prospect. So 3 point guards I'm looking at in this draft.
I hate thinking that at 5'11" I would be in your smalls list.
You would be.
You would be.
You'd be in like the Tiny's list in the NBA.
Okay, Mr. 6'3".
Hey, I'm the same height as Steph Curry, and he looks really small, and he shoots way better than I do by a bazillion miles. Janae, what sort of challenges, we've just talked about all these players who ball out in college, but there's another level to get to in the WNBA. What's the challenge in the transition going to the pros?
Life comes at you fast. If you think about the WNBA, it's the only league where you can go in 1 week playing in the Final Four or the national championship, then the following week getting drafted. Then 2 weeks later, you're going up against the best of the best. I'll never forget the first time I went up against Tamika Catchings. This was all in the span of 2 months. Or even my sister, Nneka Ogwumike, which was the worst mental game ever, going up against her for the first time. These young ladies are going from being protected on their college campuses to being potentially, in some ways exposed because you're going up against Olympians, you're going up against Hall of Famers. But they've got so much game to lean on, so much confidence. We're in a different time in women's basketball where they are brands, they are businesses, they're moving to new cities. I really am excited to see what this class will do.
They're going up against moms. That mom strength is different. That's what a lot of these rookies are like, I'm playing against mothers. Yeah, that's different.
It really is. Andrea, what kind of impact did last year's class make on the game? Because we saw some incredible women coming out then, and they've done incredible things.
Oh, impact. How would you, seismic? Like seismic impact and immediate impact. When we talk about last year's rookie class and we talk about meeting the moment, record-breaking numbers with viewership. I mean, you can't say enough about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, truly. I mean, they are box office. Any ticket with Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese on it is going to sell tenfold because of the way that they have grown their superstardom. They grew it in college throughout NIL. You talk about Cameron Brink, Rakia Jackson, that rookie class grew their superstardom, carried it right into the WNBA, and it just absolutely took off. So we hope this class can sort of build off that momentum. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, both all-stars, right? They broke records, they set records, so they did a lot for the league in their rookie year, and we hope to build off of that.
We don't have any time to talk about it, but can we just show the Instagram with the fashion game and you guys at Elle Duncan? Can we show that? Come on.
Yes. Y'all approve of it?
So good. So good.
The orange carpet is a thing. The WNBA players are going to come to show up and show out. But yeah, we try to get inspired by them.
They are showing up and showing out in so many ways.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With the deadline less than a month away for a big change at airports right now at the security line, a regular old ID and license that just won't get you on flights, especially those domestic ones. You're going to need an enhanced one. It's called a Real ID, and ABC's Phil Lipoff is following all of this. Help us make sense of it all.
Well, here's the thing. We just got a question here. Do I really have to do that? Yes, you really have to do that. Starting May 7th, Gio, if you're flying anywhere in the U.S., out of a U.S. airport, you will need to show TSA agents a Real ID driver's license or another form of compliant ID just to board the flight. So you ask, what does a Real ID look like? It pretty much looks like your old ID, just with a little star on it, and it's a must-have by May 7th. DMVs are working overtime, as you would imagine, just to accommodate. Some in New York will stay open on Thursdays. Out in California, they have 18 offices that will be open early 4 days a week. In Illinois, they've actually created a Real ID super center that was created to take walk-ins.
Oh my gosh. So Phil, what happens if you can't get one on time?
Well, a lot of things you don't want to happen at the airport, right? You could deal with delays, you could deal with long lines. TSA says you might not even get on a flight, period, if you don't have this. This goes back to 9/11. After 9/11, the government said individual states have their own requirements for driver's license, we should probably have a federal one that's tied to your social security number, your legal residence. And so this has been in the works for 20 or so years. As you pointed out, we went on, it's been delayed several times.
Yeah, they keep pushing it back,
That's
but
right.
it is finally here and people need to get one. But how many people still need to get a real ID?
All right, so according to federal documents, as of January of last year, only 56% of driver's license were real IDs in circulation across this country, 56%. If you still need to get yours, check the Department of Homeland Security website to see your state-specific requirements for your documents, and if you're a AAA member, you can get help getting an appointment as well. But after May 7th, take a passport or you're not getting on a plane.
Oh, okay. That's a good
If you don't have a real ID, that's the alternative.
That's a good solution. Okay. It seems like it might get messy at airports. That's for sure.
Well, I don't have mine, so
all right. Well,
all right. Good luck, bud. Still coming up here on Good Morning America, I sat down with Academy Award-winning actor Forest Whitaker about the new season of Godfather of Harlem and his 4-decade-long career in Hollywood. Stick around for that. Back now on GMA, my one-on-one with legendary actor Forest Whitaker. The Oscar winner has portrayed so many roles in movies that we all know and love, and tonight he's reprising his role as infamous crime boss Ellsworth Raymond Bumpy Johnson, looking to solidify his empire in the season 4 premiere of Godfather of Harlem.
For 4 decades, Forest Whitaker has commanded the screen, dedicating himself to the intricate details of each role and connecting with audiences across generations.
The prince will now have the strength of the Black Panther.
There's so many actors that hope for a career of that kind of longevity. What do you attribute it to?
Being fresh. But that for myself, like where something is going to make me grow or move forward. So I'm more thinking about that than I'm thinking about anything else. I'm trying to build something for my people.
As of late, he's poured himself into portraying the infamous crime boss, Bumpy Johnson, in the MGM Plus series Godfather of Harlem.
How did you go about playing Bumpy Johnson?
I knew he was a gangster and a drug lord, but I needed to find somebody that knew him. I met with a couple of guys. One was his driver, another one was this sort of enforcer type guy.
Yeah.
They spent some time with me and talked to me about it. Then I just started studying all the histories and stuff, all the stories about him.
The series, set in 1960s Harlem, explores the intersection of crime, politics, and the civil rights movement.
Go home.
Still reckoning with the death of his close friend, civil rights leader Malcolm X, the Godfather teeing up a young Frank Lucas, who will go on to become the infamous drug boss portrayed by Rome Flynn. As for Whitaker's personal story, he says there are still chapters to be written, hoping to find renewed purpose through directing and in humanitarianism with the Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative.
What we do is we train people, youths and women, to be peacemakers, to be mediators in their communities. We go into a place first and meet people, and we start talking to people and understanding what they want. And when we create our needs based on that, we have a curriculum that we have.
To get to do the kind of work that you do, playing Bumpy Johnson and all these incredible characters, but then to also go and give back.
It's amazing. It's been quite rewarding.
So I binge-watched the first 3 seasons of the historical fiction that takes creative liberty with real-world events and people, including Italian crime bosses. Season 4 will see the emergence of the Black Panthers after the assassination of Malcolm X in the backdrop of the fight to control Harlem. Season 4 premieres tonight.
Thank you for starting your day with us. Hope you grab a cup of coffee, maybe French vanilla.
Oh, because I knocked my coffee over. Thank you for starting your day with us.
I'm glad to be here always.
Good time.
It was a lot of fun.
We've got more weekend news over on ABC News Live.
Bye.